All right. Get ready for this deep dive today because we're going to be diving into Disney's Aladdin.
Love it.
But not just the 92 classic. We're going to be comparing it to the 2019 live-action remake.
Yes.
You shared a really insightful article with us, a scholarly piece.
It's interesting.
That really kind of analyzes some of the key differences between these two films.
Yeah.
Especially how the remake reflects a shift in cultural values.
Exactly.
So get ready for some surprising insights.
Yeah. It's fascinating how a story can be retold almost 3 decades later.
Right.
And reflect such a different perspective on things like representation and even the roles of certain characters.
Totally. Okay. So first up, let's talk about some of the new characters and how the remake actually changed the personalities of some of the characters from the original. Like, remember Princess Jasmine's handmaiden Dahlia? She wasn't in the 1992 version at all.
Right.
Totally new.
She's totally new to the live action version.
Yeah.
And on the surface, she might seem like a minor addition.
Right.
But if you look closely, Dahlia's character allows the writers to do something really interesting with the story.
Like giving Genie a love interest.
Exactly.
Which is crazy because not only that, but in the remake, he actually gets to experience human life, fall in love, and even start a family.
A family.
Yeah, it's such a big change from the original.
Huge change.
Where he was basically just this all-powerful but kind of lonely, wisecracking blue entity.
Right.
In fact, film critics over at Refinery 29, a popular entertainment website, actually praised this aspect of the remake.
And it makes sense. Yeah. Because by giving Genie this human experience, the remake creates a much more nuanced and relatable character. You see him grapple with the idea of freedom, responsibilities that come with love and family, and even his own sense of identity.
Wow.
It makes you think about how different his understanding of granting wishes might be now compared to the 1992 version.
Completely.
Right.
It makes you wonder, would he still be so eager to grant wishes if it meant risking the happiness of his family?
Exactly.
It adds a whole new layer to
the
character.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of transformations, remember the animal sidekicks in the original Abu Iago and Raja?
Oh, yeah.
They were so adorable and cuddly.
But think about how they were portrayed.
Yeah.
The 1992 film relied heavily on anthropomorphism, essentially giving those animals very human-like qualities.
I see.
But the technology available in 2019 allowed them to use CGI to bring out the animalistic nature of those characters in a much more realistic way. Raja's protective growls feel so much more like a real tiger. Wow. Abu's mischief is less cute sidekick and more realistic monkey.
Yeah.
And even Iago, while he still has that sassy personality, his speech is way more parrot-like.
And speaking of Iago, even CinemaBlend, a website known for its film analysis, pointed out how his dialogue, while much more limited, felt more impactful because it was so specific and deliberate.
Right.
Like a real parrot might talk.
Exactly. Now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises some really interesting questions about how we view animals, especially in storytelling. On one hand, you have the classic Disney approach, which emphasizes the cuteness and human-like qualities of animal companions. But on the other hand, you have this push for more realism, which arguably asks us to appreciate animals for their unique characteristics, even if it means dialing down the cuteness factor a bit.
Yeah, it's like the remake is prompting us to think about how those cross-species friendships might actually function in a world where animals can't just burst into song.
Exactly.
But this brings us to another important topic surrounding Aladdin. Especially the original film. You know, there were some valid critiques about the portrayal of Princess Jasmine, especially her attire. Some argued that it relied on stereotypes. And was even a little overly sexualized.
And that's a really important point to acknowledge. The 1992 film came out during a very different time. And those kinds of depictions, while maybe not intentional, could definitely be seen as problematic today. But what's interesting is how the 2019 version makes a conscious effort to address these issues. Not only are Jasmine's costumes designed with more cultural sensitivity, but the entire focus of her character shifts.
Yes, it's so much less about her appearance and so much more about her intelligence, her strength, and her leadership qualities. She goes from feeling trapped to actively shaping her own destiny.
Exactly.
In fact, even the casting in the remake is much more diverse.
Absolutely.
Having Will Smith as Genie was a huge step towards better representation in a major Disney film.
Absolutely. And that's a powerful message in itself, right?
Yeah.
Seeing someone like Will Smith in that role can inspire a whole new generation of kids. And it shows a commitment to making these stories feel relevant and relatable to a wider audience.
Totally.
It's almost like saying these stories belong to everyone.
Okay, so we've journeyed through some pretty big changes.
We have.
Character updates.
We sure have.
CGI critters. And even this shift towards more cultural awareness.
Exactly.
It's amazing how much
it really is
can change in just a few decades, right?
It really is. And it's not just about the advancements in filmmaking. It's about how our values and perspectives as a society have evolved. What we find acceptable, what we find inspiring, even what we find entertaining. All of that has shifted since 1992.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
It really is.
We're not just comparing two films.
It's more than that.
We're looking at a snapshot.
We are.
Of how our culture has changed.
A snapshot in time.
But we've only just scratched the surface.
Oh, yeah.
There's still so much to unpack.
Absolutely.
Like how Jasmine's character arc really takes center stage in the remake.
Yeah. It's interesting how the 2019 Aladdin really gives Princess Jasmine a chance to shine. We were just talking about the changes to her costume and the focus on her intelligence and strength. But it goes beyond that. In the original, she often felt like she was trapped. Both literally and figuratively. But in the remake, her desire for agency and her vision for her kingdom really takes center stage.
Yeah, she's not just waiting for her prince to come anymore.
Exactly.
She's actively shaping her own destiny. I loved her big musical number.
Oh, yeah.
Speechless.
Yes.
In the remake.
Yeah.
It felt like
powerful.
A powerful anthem.
It is.
About finding your voice and fighting for what you believe in.
Exactly. It's a message that really resonates with contemporary audiences.
Totally. And speaking of the music, the remake doesn't just rehash the old hits.
No.
It adds new songs. Like Speechless.
Exactly.
That give depth to the characters and themes.
Absolutely.
It's a good example of how a remake can build on the original and find new ways to connect with the audience.
To connect with a new audience,
You know, one of the things that the scholarly article you sent highlighted was how the addition of new characters, like Dahlia actually allowed for a more nuanced exploration of female friendship.
Yeah, think about the relationship between Dahlia and Jasmine. They support each other. They challenge each other. And they make each other laugh. It's such a far cry from the more isolated portrayal of Jasmine in the original.
Totally.
The 2019 film uses these new character dynamics to subtly address issues of gender roles and societal expectations.
Like how Dahlia initially feels confined by her position as a handmaiden.
Exactly.
But through her interactions with Genie, she discovers her own sense of independence and self-worth.
Right. It's a subplot that might have felt out of place in the 1992 version.
Yeah, for sure.
But in the remake, it feels both organic and empowering.
Totally. And this actually brings me to another interesting point.
Okay.
The article makes
about
the casting of Will Smith as Genie.
Oh, yeah.
It's not easy to step into a role made iconic by Robin Williams. But Smith definitely brought his own charisma and energy to the character.
Yes, he did. And you can't deny the significance of casting a Black actor in such a prominent role. It was a major step
for sure
towards better representation in a major Disney film. It's like acknowledging that these stories belong to everyone and that the magic of Disney can be experienced and interpreted in countless ways.
It's true. But even with all the changes, one thing that remains constant in both versions is the love story. Between Aladdin and Jasmine.
Yes. The classic tale of street rat meets princess.
Totally.
But even this central romance is treated differently in the remake.
Okay.
There's a greater emphasis on mutual respect.
Okay.
And understanding.
Right.
Between Aladdin and Jasmine. They're not just drawn to each other's looks.
Right.
They genuinely admire each other's qualities and aspirations.
You can really see that in the scene where they first meet.
Yes.
At the marketplace. In the original, it felt more played for laughs.
Yeah.
But in the remake,
it felt
a genuine connection between them.
A genuine connection.
They see each other as equals, even though they come from such different worlds.
And it makes their love story feel more grounded and believable.
Right.
It suggests that true love isn't just about grand gestures or magical interventions.
Right.
It's about finding someone who sees you for who you truly are.
Right.
And supports your dreams.
And their final duet, A Whole New World, takes on an even deeper meaning in the remake.
It does.
It's not just about escaping the palace walls.
Right.
It's about building a future together.
Yeah.
Where they can both be their authentic selves.
Right. The remake uses music and visuals to enhance the emotional depth of the story.
For sure.
Those sweeping shots of Agrabah,
Yeah.
the vibrant colors of the costumes, the soaring melodies.
Right.
They all contribute to a more immersive and impactful cinematic experience.
Yeah, it's like those changes remind us.
Yeah.
That remakes have the potential to not just retell a story.
Yeah.
But to reimagine it.
To reimagine.
In a way that resonates more deeply with a new generation of viewers.
Yes. Speaking of reimagining.
Okay.
I was really interested in how they changed Jafar's character.
Yeah, he's such a classic Disney villain.
Yeah, but the 2019 version digs a little deeper into his motivations. He becomes more than just a power-hungry sorcerer.
Yeah, in the original, he just seemed obsessed with the lamp.
Right.
But in the remake,
there are hints.
There are hints of a backstory.
That
kind of explains his resentment and ambition.
It's implied that he was once an outsider.
Right.
Looked down upon by the Sultan and the royal court.
Wow.
It adds a layer of complexity.
Yeah.
His character. It makes him more relatable.
Right.
Even though his actions are villainous.
Yeah. It's almost like Jafar becomes a cautionary tale about what happens.
It is.
When ambition goes unchecked.
It is. It adds another layer to the story.
Right.
That makes you think.
Yeah.
Even after the credits roll.
For sure. And that's one of the things that makes this remake so interesting.
It really is.
It not only entertains, but also provokes thought and discussion.
Yeah.
It invites us to revisit a familiar story.
Yes.
With a fresh perspective.
Uh-huh.
And to consider how it reflects our own values and beliefs.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing how much you can learn by comparing two versions of the same story.
A lot.
We've explored so much already: character development, the impact of CGI, the evolution of storytelling, and Disney, even how cultural awareness has changed over time.
Right.
But you know what we haven't really touched on yet?
The music.
And music.
Both the 1992 and 2019 Aladdin soundtracks are filled with iconic melodies and heartfelt lyrics.
Yeah.
And the way they use music to tell the story?
Yeah.
Well, that's where the real magic happens.
Yeah, you're so right. The music is such an integral part of Aladdin, both the original and the remake. And you know, it's interesting how the 2019 version didn't just try to replicate the original songs.
Yeah.
They actually reimagined them.
Right?
Adding new layers of instrumentation and vocals to create a much richer soundscape.
Yeah.
Like take A Whole New World, for example.
Yes.
I get chills every time I hear Naomi Scott and Mehta Massoud.
Me too.
Singing it.
Oh, yeah.
In the remake.
It's beautiful.
That's so good.
The combination of their voices and that lush orchestral score really elevates the song.
It really does.
It's like the music itself is taking you on that magic carpet ride.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh.
And speaking of songs that give you chills, how about Jasmine's new song, Speechless?
Oh, yeah.
The article you sent actually pointed out how this song, in many ways, became the anthem.
It did.
For the entire remake.
The anthem of the film, yes.
It's such a powerful statement about finding your voice and speaking out against injustice.
Yeah.
I remember reading somewhere that the songwriters were inspired by, the Me Too and Time's Up movements when they wrote it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The lyrics are all about breaking free from societal expectations.
Right.
And having the courage to speak truth to power.
Right.
And you can feel that emotion in the music, too.
Oh, yeah.
The way that the score swells during Jasmine's defiant moments.
Yeah.
It gives me goosebumps every time.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that even Disney films, even those based on classic tales, can address these really important social issues in a way that feels both meaningful and entertaining.
Absolutely. And the music plays a crucial role in amplifying those messages.
Oh, for sure.
Think about how the music underscores Jafar's manipulative tactics.
Oh, yeah.
It creates this sense of unease and tension.
Yeah.
Even if you know how the story ends.
Right. It's like the music is another character
it is.
in this story, adding depth and complexity to those emotional moments.
Absolutely.
You know, it's also interesting how the music reflects the cultural setting of the film.
Yeah.
I remember the 1992 version using a blend of Middle Eastern and Western musical styles to create that sense of exoticism.
But the 2019 version definitely took a different approach.
Yeah.
They incorporated more authentic instrumentation and vocal techniques, drawing inspiration from traditional Arabic music.
It feels like a much more intentional choice.
Yes.
A way of showing respect for the culture that inspired the story.
Absolutely.
Which, when you think about it, is another example of how the remake reflects a shift towards greater cultural awareness and sensitivity.
Exactly. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most fascinating takeaways from this whole deep dive.
For sure.
We've explored so much character development, visual effects, how storytelling has evolved over time, even the role of music and conveying cultural nuances. But ultimately, what we've uncovered is that a good remake
isn't just a rehashing of the old. It's a chance to reimagine a beloved story with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And to see it through the lens of contemporary values.
I think that's a great way to sum it up. And you know what? It makes me wonder.
Yeah.
What other classic tales deserve a modern retelling?
I like that.
And how can we make sure that those reimagined stories are both entertaining and thought-provoking, respectful of the past, while also embracing the possibilities of the present?
That's a great point.
Those are some pretty big questions to ponder.
They are, but those are the kinds of questions that make exploring stories so rewarding.
Right.
Because ultimately, it's up to each of us to decide how these stories speak to us.
Right.
And what we take away from them.
Well said. And that brings our deep dive into the world of Aladdin to a close. I hope you enjoyed the journey as much as we did.
I did.
Remember, the magic of storytelling lies not just in the tales themselves, but in the conversations and reflections they spark. I agree.